We're recording our first episode of Into the Gray.
She points at me.
That's because you can't see my gray.
Because I have all this gray,
but
and
honey,
you're all.
if this was not colored, like if I didn't color all this, I'm trying to look at it right now. If I didn't color all this, I'd be completely gray. But I'm still coloring it because I'm not ready for gray yet.
Your hair looks amazing.
But anyways, the reason why this is called Into the Gray is for a few reasons. We'll start with the obvious.
I'm like the
We're
gray model, I guess.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. I like that. Gray model. But that just means that we've got years on us and experience, and we'll call it wisdom for lack of a better word.
You have wisdom. I have fumblings.
Experience. But it's just, I think, more experience in life. And this is a great place to share this. I think, let me back up a bit. I had been mulling over a new podcast because we had done Choose, Don't Excuse for, I don't even know how long.
At least 2 years.
Okay.
So in our last episode was August 2020.
Okay. So right at the height of all the COVID, the pandemic stuff. And we had that going on, and we just stopped doing it, mainly me. There's a lot of reasons why, and I won't go into it now, but I just kind of stopped it, and I need to regroup, basically kind of reset and figure out what I wanted to do in my own life. And there was a lot of soul searching. I shouldn't say there was a lot. There's always soul searching for myself. I'm always trying to learn new things, learn about myself, learn about others, to keep an open mind, those kind of things. And it's just a time for a break. And I don't know, I probably talked to you about doing a new podcast for a year.
It's been a year, yeah.
Yeah, it's been about a year. It's been on my mind. I just kind of felt like I needed to share again. I wanted to share again. Jodie and I have some great conversations. By the way, I'm Judie.
I'm Jodie.
Probably should say that. I'm Judie. He's Jodie. And yes, we're husband and wife.
And we've been married 34 years.
I thought you were going to ask me. Like, I thought you were going to.
I didn't want you to mess up.
I know. I thought he's so good with numbers and remembering those things. And I am always like.
You're like, how many years, honey? So it seems like an eternity for her, but just yesterday for me.
Whatever. But now I forgot where I was going with this.
Just the year of mulling over the podcast, the idea of
because we always have great conversations. Yeah. That's right. I say great, and when I mean that, I don't mean great conversations where we're always agreeing with each other, because we don't.
No.
And that's why I think it's so important to share. And it really, I had a hard time wanting to share. And why that is because there's so many podcasts out there, right? And why do you want to listen to Jodie and Judy? And honestly, the idea is, how do I say this without sounding rude? I don't care if we have 1,000 people or one person. It's because there's thoughts, feelings, thoughts in my heart. I want to say thoughts in my heart. I would say thoughts in my mind, but it's really on my heart, to be honest. That makes me feel like it's just important. And God gave me a mouth, gave me a voice, and I'm so much better at talking than I am at writing things down. I love stories. I love doing my stories on Instagram, but I don't like to write a lot. And so I thought, you know what? It's time. It's time to birth something new. And what better way to start it than this year? I mean, the beginning of the new year. I'm not into the let's do a New Year's thing. I'm just not into it. I mean, there's people out there, and I shouldn't mimic that. I shouldn't mock it. But that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying this is when we're starting. I feel good about it. And so that was a long introduction.
Well, I think it's an important introduction. And as I was listening to you, did I interrupt?
No, I just talked too much. See, I told you.
No, you don't. There's a couple things that I thought about. You said whether or not we touch one person or 1,000 people. And I think a lot of times people don't share because either they're afraid that it won't have impact, that it will offend, that we will be judged by our opinion, our experience. And, a couple of weeks ago, Rosalie Bowman shared on Facebook this great photo of an aging mother who passed away. And she said, what a sorrow. The quote was something like, what a sorrow that all of that life experience is lost.
Ooh.
And I responded.
That hurts.
Yeah, I responded, unless you captured those nuggets and incorporated them in your life.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of the intent in having these conversations, is to share some of our experiences, our insight, our doubts, our faith, our struggles, our conclusions, are still wrestling with certain things, with the hope and the intent that will not be lost.
That's great. I like that. No, that's a great way to summarize some of my feelings, because those thoughts did come to my mind. Who am I going to talk to? Why would they want to listen to us? Honestly, judgment, I didn't really care. Offending, I don't want to offend anybody, but I also want to voice my opinion. And since we have a platform, Jodie and I are that old that they didn't have platforms like this to just get on and go, hey, this is what I think, because you had to have it professionally done.
Yeah.
You had to have you worked in radio and TV.
I worked in radio and TV.
That's how old we are now. That's what I'm trying to say. You're old. Okay.
It's amazing what you can do now.
Because you have to have a big, like the camera, the set, the whole thing. And that's the only way things are ever going to be aired is on TV.
Yeah.
And now we don't have to do that. We don't have to wait for that. So lucky us. We get to do this and just tell her whatever we want to say, and you can listen, or
hopefully
you can turn us off. But if I don't, I feel it is my, what do I want to say? Obligation? What's the word? This is it. Okay. I feel that I'm responsible. I feel responsible because I can voice, or because I can speak my voice. I have that ability to do that. I have a healthy body to be able to think and ponder and share. I don't know what I'm trying to say is, because I can, I should.
And that's
Does that
good.
Make sense?
No, it makes a lot of.
What do you think I meant?
No, I
need to know what you think I meant.
I think you feel compelled,
my eyelashes,
driven, motivated to share some of your experiences with the hope that it will have an impact on somebody's life in a positive direction, right? And you don't want to leave unsaid the things that are in your heart that you would really like to express, and maybe you've held back, that maybe other people are pondering in their head, that they're mulling over and they're not quite sure how to ask the question.
Yes, you're hitting it. I love it, because sometimes it's just here, and it's here, but it don't always come out here. But I'm definitely better at talking, like I said, than writing. And I was pointing in my head. If we're, you can't see where I'm pointing my head and my heart. It's there. But what it is that I'm trying to say, I want to be a voice for those that are either afraid to speak or can't speak. We live in a country that we can, and I'm going to voice it. So that means, I don't know. I was going to say that means this could be censored, as in. Oh, well, no, it couldn't be. It won't be censored.
I don't
Well,
see it,
we
and
won't
that's
cut
and
out
that's
stuff. We
right.
won't cut out anything. I'm going to say it like it is. I'm going to say how I feel. You may hear expletives, whatever. So I want to be a voice for those that can't share. I feel that obligation. I feel that responsibility. That's
Well,
what I'm
and I
trying to
think
say.
about that a lot. It's like, I have my own podcast, Father's Fire.
Yes.
There's 210 episodes
Love it.
of
You're
my
so good at that.
feelings
Mhm.
about being a father, interviewing other fathers, my struggles, and my own, challenges, and my own, deficiencies, if you will. That's not really the wrong word, but my faults, right? And just being on,
Deficiencies.
thank you, being honest in my heart about the importance of being a father, right?
Mhm.
And bare minimum, if I have one listener or 1,000 listeners, the one benefit is that when I die,
Mm.
our kids, have 210 episodes of dad's.
Replay.
Right.
How about like delete? I don't want to
Well,
listen
and
to that
maybe they
again.
will want to
I'm just
delete,
kidding.
but
But you're
to
right.
be able
Oh,
to
you're
to
right.
get a little nugget of
Hmm.
dad. I mean, I think about your mom and
Oh
how much
gosh,
I
I
loved being with
wish.
your mom, right? And to be able to go back and see her and hear her voice and your dad and his little shuffle and those, to be able to have a platform where we can put our thoughts in a way that hopefully will impact and touch your life, but also leaves a legacy that hopefully will ripple across not only our kids' lives, but also those in our circle. And that's really about, you know, I think in part why this podcast is so important, because we want to explore not only the seasoning of our life, the growing in our life, but
Yes.
also kind of the areas that we're still growing, right?
Yes.
Because one of the things that we talked about was
Ooh, you're gonna like
into the gray
segue.
is, I
Yes.
think a lot of times we think in our society very black and white, red and blue. I mean, there's so many male and female, so many, everything's, one way or the other, and
Right and wrong, good
right
and
and wrong,
bad,
good and bad,
all the words I can't stand.
right? And there, and I like the way that you say, the gray is growing, right? And it's moving principle upon principle, thought upon thought, line upon line, and growing. And I think a lot of times we tend to look at people, experiences, moving through life in a very black and white lens,
Mm-hmm.
when a lot of times you don't know the backstory of why people are making the choices that
Right.
they're doing, or why we've made our own choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important, is recognizing that gray in our sense is synonymous with growth
Yes. And
and
I'm so
growing.
glad that you expressed that perfectly. Like, oh, I hate that word too. I don't like the word perfect. You express that, I'll just say so well. What and how I feel about it, that is what Into the Gray is too. The gray, what we may think of as the gray area of life, it really isn't um, a gray area. It's just life. It's just growth and experience, and there's just so much there that's really a huge. That's probably the main thing that we have learned over the years, and really as I was exploring my life, the past few years, I feel like I have grown so much more in the past couple years, just by being able to sit back to reevaluate. And I wasn't doing this in any kind of process. It's just me really just taking time for me. And it has opened, I don't want to say opened my eyes, but, because I feel like I try to be open anyways, as a just me and my personality of who I am. But anyways, that is a lot of where this growth is now telling me it's time to share. It's telling me it's time to stop thinking about it, because that's actually what happens to me is, oh, what's it called? It's on the tip of my tongue, where um you prepare and prepare and prepare for, and then you don't execute. Oh my gosh, what's it called?
Analysis
Yes,
paralysis.
that's it. I use that phrase a lot and I can't remember it now. It's the analysis paralysis. I felt like I was analyzing way too much and going, oh, what if we do this? How if we, how, yeah, blah, 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 all that. And then I'm finally like, yeah, I just gotta birth this baby. Birth it.
Well, and I think
And
one. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, birth it, baby.
And
finish it.
But the other great part of it is gray matter when we're talking about the mind. There's just so much that no one can take away your thoughts. That's what I want to say. Meaning, you could think a certain way, feel a certain way about something, and that's yours. That's yours to cherish, to hold on to. No one can take that away. You might be, someone may be able to steal something from you, I don't know. I'm trying to say that things can be taken from you, but that's the one thing that can never be taken away, is what you think. And that means that mind is so powerful. And we need to use it. Okay, what were you going to say?
Well, I think I really like the imagery of that, but also like the imagery of having a heart that goes with your mind, because I think a lot of times we tend to look at situations, as I said before, in black and white. And what I've learned is we have gone through some challenging seasons, especially the past couple of years in our life, is that my mind is forced, the experiences that we've gone through have forced me to really look at how I view the world, how I view justice, how I view mercy, how I view kindness and tolerance and all of these things. And what I've realized is that as we've gone through those experiences, that I've had to go, all right, I need to understand, I need to give people space to work through their growth experience, right? I can't expect them to be where I'm at. And I think a lot of times people get frustrated in their relationships because their expectations are not aligning with the reality of what's going on in either someone's head, somebody's heart, or in the entire situation. And I think what's helped me work through the gray is I've developed a greater capacity for empathy.
Yes. I would agree. Yay, Jody. Right? When he says, he was like, I can't expect him to be where I'm at, right? Well, yay! I needed to give him space.
Well,
I'm just kidding. You know what? No, everybody.
But the thing is, she's kidding, but she's not. And let's just be straight there. But
here's the thing. I don't want to say like, I don't feel like when I say to expect them to be where I'm at, or like when you said that, I don't expect you to be where I'm at, because that makes it sound like, oh, I am up here and you're right here, and I need you to come up to me. Whereas, no, we need to understand each other. And so that's why I don't feel right with the term when I'm saying I don't expect you to be where I'm at, is because there should be no expectation ever, because there should be, I hate the term should too, but I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to use my words very
judiciously.
You try, and thanks for trying to help me. I mean, he knows I don't get upset that he's trying, but just carefully, intentionally. That's it. So intentionally use the word where I feel like with expectation means this is where you should be, and you should be up. I feel like it's an upward movement. That's how I see the word, and everybody else can see it something different. But I'm just saying. So I don't know. I probably I just stepped over you. I'm sorry, babe.
No, no.
But where the empathy, the greater empathy. I know that I guess that's just one of the things that I have as a characteristic is that I'm very empathetic. I think that we could say that.
Yeah. No.
Could we say that about me?
No, you're very empathetic.
Okay. Could we say it about me? But that doesn't mean you aren't empathetic. But it's just where you're at, and I don't. Wow. I just kind of like kept on going. But yeah, I love that.
Well, I think part of it is
shut up.
No, you shouldn't. I think it's important, right?
Because get your thoughts out.
I think a lot of it is respecting that people have a backstory, they have experiences that have led them to where they are. And vice versa, and with me as well, right? And so we've all been taught things, we've experienced things, and like there are things that I've experienced that I can look at our kids making similar decisions, and it's easy to go, well, they should be doing this, right? Instead of remembering that they are still growing, they're still making decisions, and their decisions are taking them on a journey that is appropriate for them.
Right. And we can't steal that away from them.
You can't steal it.
We don't want to. As much as we as parents want to go, wait, you're going to fall here. We can just see that because that happened to us. But guess what? Really? Will it happen to them? Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Exactly.
And if it does,
right,
you still have the opportunity to be there to give them a place to land.
Well, and that's when I like what you just said, respect. So what if what could we say this, that to respect rather than expect?
Oh, I love that.
I'm all about the words where I'm always like something, but I think it helps me if I have a phrase in my head, and we're going to get there next. But if I have a phrase in my head, it helps me to put things in perspective. Depending on my situation, I will have a phrase usually for certain situations so that I can go, oh, reel it back in, or, oh, remember. It just helps balance me. That's just how I operate. So yeah, I think that if we can respect others instead of expecting others to perform the way we want them to, that brings our own pride and ego down several notches, which is what we need to do, I feel like.
Yeah. And I think back, an experience that you and I had with our oldest son, Devin. I remember he's 3 years into College of Idaho, and he came and said, hey, Dad, I want to go travel Europe. And in the back of my head, I said, you only have a year left of school. Thank God I didn't say that out loud, right? Rather, I said, tell me about that. What do you want to do? What's pushing you? What's driving you to do that? He said, I don't know. I just feel like I need to take a break, and I want to go experience and travel and maybe busk and perform on the streets and just have an experience. I'm like, you know what? You're young. You can come back and do college if you want. And if you don't, it's okay. And I think about, that experience and everything that unfolded because of him having the courage to go, you know what? I want to take a break. And I want to go on this journey. And it opened doors for him to literally travel the world. Yes. And if I would have squashed that desire, I could have squashed hundreds, if not thousands, of opportunities that have unfolded for him.
All the people he's touched, and And that's the thing. I think that what we're understanding with Into the Gray for this is what we're talking about, the experience and wisdom. And because you guys, okay, disclosure here, full disclosure, we're in our 50s. And if you think about it, it's like we have seen the era of the internet. Look at our phones. They went from these long old extension. In fact, I'm looking at an extension cord or what are those called? A phone cord right now. But it's like we went from dial to where we are today to mainframe for no computers to no computers. We didn't have computers until
80s.
yes. And then we had our big old huge computers, right? Okay, so we went from no computers to a computer to a handheld computer. That is so much more powerful than what we had in mainframes. I mean, the series of that, the era that we're into now definitely lends to the kids, our children, people these days having a totally different experience than what we did even 20 years ago. And that blows my mind. That blows my mind to think, no, they're not going to have the same experience as us. Why do we think we need to squash their ideas or squash anybody's ideas or dreams or hopes or whatever? They have, this is limitless now, guys, limitless. That's why I'm saying that this had to be birthed to Into the Gray, because yeah, we just need to, I know why too. This is the other reason why, because we do know of people and just I would say our era, our age group, it is kind of I don't want to say middle ground, but it's like we're in the in between. Yeah. We are in the in between where we know how to work computers, we know how to work phones, but some of us don't in our era.
And some of us don't want to, and they're afraid
some
of
of us don't want to. So there's that black and white thinking still in our era. And I want to share to help our era break that bondage, because it feels like bondage when we can't think outside the box. So every year, I don't know starting when, but every year there's like a phrase or a word or something that I like to grasp on for myself to help me just kind of just progress throughout the year. It could change. It could change. It could morph into something more. But we want to share that with you. And my phrase for this year is transform and transmit. And the reason why I say that is I wish I could remember the quote exactly. And I didn't pull it up before I got on here. So I might in a minute while you're talking. But I believe it was Father Richard Rohr. And he said, that which you don't transform, you transmit. And this was a phrase that was talking about, obviously, not obviously, but a phrase about you got to change your ways because you're just going to perpetuate and keep the cycle going. And so I was like, okay, I am transforming, and it's my duty. I feel it's my duty to transmit that, and that means to share. So that's why the birth finally happened with Into the Gray. So that's why we're going to share with you different thoughts every couple weeks. We'll put up a podcast, yeah. We'll put up a show. But I want you to share what you.
So I'm actually building off my word from last year. My word last year, 2022, was impact. And I still am really motivated and inspired by that word, in that I want to have an impact on people's lives, right? My fatherhood podcast, I'm driven to have an impact on fathers, which will ripple across, having an impact on families, which hopefully will have an impact on generations, right? So I really think about impact as in I want to touch and inspire and create an idea in your head and in your heart that you can achieve the type of relationship, in particular in your family, that you want. And also, I want to have impact on people's businesses, right? I'm a business owner. I have my own company, Zimware, and I'm really driven by the idea of I want to impact your business by the things that I bring to the table. Building on that, the second word is abundance. I want to create abundance in my life, in our family's life, in your life, because with abundance gives you freedom to move, to share, to touch, to then be the impact for other people. So I'm really driven by those two words, impact, which is creating abundance for us, for me, for our family, and ultimately, hopefully, for you.
No, that's wow. Good. I love it.
So, yeah. So that's
you need to listen to his podcast, Father's Fire. And then your business is Zenware. And you have a podcast
We
on
have
that.
a podcast called Road FS, the Road FS podcast. We interview business owners, we suppliers, vendors, and we just talk about how people grew their business, challenges they overcame. And so I'm really driven to create an impact on people. And I figure if I can create an impact, the abundance will follow.
Love it. And this is why we are co-hosting together this Into the Gray, because you're a great facilitator on that. He's just great. We just have great conversations. And I, like I said, great means
in depth.
Yeah, in depth.
Heartfelt.
So
thought-provoking.
Another disclaimer here, just so you all know, this is not any kind of therapy group or anything where we say we're not professionals of therapy or anything like that. We are professional opinionators. We are a professional in our experiences because they're ours. And we observe a lot. So I'd say from us, what you're going to get is a lot of our experience, observations, and opinions. And we would love to hear your opinions. So the thing that I'd like to see is if you could, in the comments or wherever you can share, just, is there anything that has been on your heart, and especially our era? I don't want to just say that, this is exclusive to any age group, but I know that our 50-year-old friends and our 60-year-old friends struggle with some things that they feel imbalance. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's an imbalance. And so if there's something that we can talk about that might help you come to peace or balance with it, with a subject, let us know, because we'd love to talk about it. And there's nothing that I want to say right now, there's nothing that I won't talk about. I'm just going to say that. Oh gosh, now I just put that out there. Is there anything I won't talk about? I mean, yeah, why should we feel any kind of embarrassment or shame in discussing things we need to talk about? Now, I mean, obviously there's things I'm going to respect other people's privacy and things like that. But if there's something that I can share or that we can share, let's do it.
Let's do it. And let's go into the gray.
Yeah.
Let's go there.
That's exactly it. Into the gray.
See what we can learn together. I mean, that's really what it's about. It's about becoming, growing, experiencing.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be fun.
Well, I think this is a wrap for our first episode, you guys. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to us, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks. Peace.
See ya.